road risk. We verify the growing concern that is weighing on crash testers and safety advocates as more drivers opt to plug in instead of gas up. When flight cancellations send airlines into chaos, what are you entitled to as a passenger? Whether bad weather, short staffing, or a global IT outage, we break down the changes coming to flight refund policies. Plus,
we've always been curious.
Pets are like family, and many of us want to know everything about our pups. But before you splurge on a doggy DNA test, we do our own test with different brands to see if it's worth your money.
What?
I'm Josh Sidorowicz. Research is a big part of what we do with Verify here on 10 Tampa Bay, especially when it comes to questions about your safety on the road. That's why when a Verify viewer asked how electric vehicles hold up in a crash, we went straight to the recent crash test results and found the answer is one that could have deadly consequences, whether you drive an EV or not. Before you ever get behind the wheel, your vehicle gets put through the ringer right here. Carol D. in Tarpon Springs wanted to know which fares better after hearing EVs might not be as safe in a crash as gas-powered vehicles. So let's verify using these sources, including the National Transportation Safety Board and the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety.
When we look at real-world performance, one of the things that we find is that overall, electric vehicles are also performing very well.
Raul Arbeliz is the vice president of the Vehicle Research Center at the IIHS. He says dozens and dozens of crash tests since 2011 show EVs hold up just as well as gas-powered vehicles. Several on the road today, like this Hyundai Ioniq 6, are considered IIHS top safety picks. And despite their reputation, the agency says that no EV it's tested has ever caught on fire. But EVs are often substantially heavier because of their batteries, and that is becoming a growing concern for Arbeliz when it comes to pedestrians and people in other vehicles.
The heavier something is that hits you, the more severe it's going to be on you.
This crash test shows what an SUV with a 1,000-pound advantage can do to a sedan. Some of the newest EVs on the road today weigh in at several thousand pounds more than the average vehicle, or in some cases like this, even their gas counterparts. The battery alone in GM's new Hummer EV weighs almost as much as an entire Toyota Corolla.
As these electric vehicle masses do get higher and higher, we are going to have an issue with mass disparities between bigger vehicles and smaller vehicles.
So Carol, crash test verify. EVs protect passengers just as well as conventional gas vehicles, but those EVs can pose a bigger risk for passengers in other vehicles. And those growing weight concerns are pushing federal regulators to try to make collision avoidance and auto braking systems standard in all new vehicles in the future. Plus, the IIHS says as technology improves, it's possible that batteries will become smaller and lighter too. Still to come, could your cup of coffee keep mosquitoes away better than bug spray? The Verify team is taking this viral claim straight to our local experts to find out if there's any truth to this trick. But first, we have gotten messages from several Verify viewers who say they're getting concerning phone calls about their Medicare cards. Here's Sharon B. in Lakeland with what raised the red flag for her.
Hi, Josh. I received a phone call from someone who was asking if I had received my new Medicare card, and they asked a lot of questions, and I was suspicious that this might be a scam. So could you verify if Medicare is sending out new Medicare cards? Thanks very much.
So, Sharon, let's verify using these sources. First, good on you for being skeptical here because your senses are spot on. Here's what I found. A spokesperson for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services told me they will never call you to ask for or check your Medicare number or anything related to your card. In fact, CMS says on its website there are only two situations where you would get a call from Medicare asking for personal information. Medicare Health or Drug Plan may call you if you are already a member of the plan, or a customer service rep may call you, but only if you called first and then asked for a call back. So no, if you get a call from Medicare out of the blue about a new card, it is not legitimate. But as we've said so many times, scammers are slick because Medicare did go through a big switchover in 2018 when it did issue new cards with new unique numbers instead of your Social Security number. So best practice, Guard your Medicare card like a credit card. Check your summary often for any unauthorized claims, and always be suspicious of unsolicited requests for your Medicare number. A cup of coffee is good for getting you going in the morning, but can it also keep mosquitoes from biting? It's a supposed tip that is going viral online, but we wanted to know whether the science supports it.
Let me show you how to get rid of mosquitoes using coffee grounds.
You don't have to scroll very far on social media
Did you know coffee grounds can help repel mosquitoes?
before you hit hacks claiming coffee can clear your yard of mosquitoes.
Apparently, lighting coffee grounds on fire is supposed to keep them away.
But before you go lighting anything on fire, I asked the experts, including Pinellas County's Mosquito Control Director, Alyssa Barrow, if there is any truth to this trick.
So my initial thought is, oof.
She says coffee's effect on mosquitoes has not been well researched. There is one 2015 published study that shows coffee grounds may limit the number of eggs they lay, but as far as burning grounds to clear your yard,
Somebody's always coming up with a new hack, and oftentimes it may have a kernel of truth, but a lot of times it doesn't effectively protect you from mosquito bites.
that kernel of truth is that studies have found burning other things like citronella can be effective at throwing mosquitoes off your scent.
Plants always have some sort of chemical makeup in them. These natural chemicals and oils are used by plants to try and protect themselves from insects gnawing on them. And so we do see these different chemicals and oils in plants that do have repelling properties for mosquitoes.
When it comes to protecting yourself, Barrow says stick to the tried and true methods. Wear long, loose-fitting clothes, make sure you dump out all standing water, and use a repellent with a CDC-recommended active ingredient, which does not have to be DEET. Several studies have found oil of lemon eucalyptus, a natural alternative, can be nearly as effective.
It's the same every year, and while that gets boring, we always recommend it because it really is the best way to get rid of mosquitoes and help protect yourself.
Just ahead, we verify if you can really get a better deal booking flights on certain days. What you should keep in mind before you plan your next trip. Something else you should know, your rights as a passenger. While traveling can be stressful, the biggest headache can come when your flight gets delayed or canceled. It was a big issue with Delta recently after that global CrowdStrike outage in July, which led to more than 6,000 cancellations and a federal investigation. As a passenger, the best recourse is knowing what you're owed. Using these sources, we can verify federal rules say you're always entitled to a refund if the airline cancels your flight, regardless of why. Now, depending on the airline, that can be either in the form of an e-credit, a voucher, or a cash refund. We did check Delta's policy. The airline says that they only issue cash refunds if the problem was within their control. In this case, the DOT says it was, but you have to submit a refund request through Delta to get it. New federal rules will require airlines to automatically issue cash refunds unless you'd rather take a voucher or a credit. The agency says it hopes that this move will make the process a lot less of a hassle for you. Well, before you even make it to the airport, you want to get a good price on that flight. One strategy that some swear by is booking on specific days. And Verify viewer Catherine asked us if it's really a solid strategy. Our sources are Scott's Cheap Flights, a study by cheapair.com, and Brett Snyder. He's the president of Cranky Concierge Travel Assistant, and he's a former airline pricing analyst. Some studies suggest Tuesdays or Saturdays are the cheapest days to book, but all of our team sources say they usually rely on outdated and flawed data. For example, some articles suggest weekends are the cheapest days to buy, but that is based on data that tracks the average amount spent on a ticket each day of the week. Snyder tells our team families tend to buy their tickets on weekends and they usually go for cheaper options, while business travelers tend to book during the week and they are usually less price sensitive.
A lot of the business travel, premium cabin or even last minute or whatever it might be, those tend to be higher fares.
So you wind up with a lot of skewed data. But what about Tuesdays, like these articles say? Scott's Cheap Flights explains this idea goes back to at least the 1990s when airlines used to upload special e-fares on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. But today, Snyder says airlines use complex algorithms that are constantly adjusting fares based on demand, not the day of the week. So no, there is not a certain day of the week that's cheapest to buy a plane ticket. Instead, cheapair.com says that your best bet at the best rate is to book 3 to 15 weeks from departure on a domestic flight. Finally, You might think your mutt's history is a mystery, and that's why dog DNA test companies are cashing in right now. But is it worth your money? Several Verify viewers have asked if the results are reliable, so we put it to the test to see if they can really determine your dog's pedigree.
All right, get it.
Tony and Michael have always wondered just what their 11-year-old rescue Maka is.
Well, we've been told he's a lab and a wire hair pointer mix. We have been always really curious to know.
And they are not alone. Americans are spending billions each year on their furry family members.
What's going on? What's going on?
Market research firm Zion says dog DNA testing has become a $235 million industry with several brands on the market. But can you really determine a dog's breed from these DNA tests? Let's verify. Our sources are Haley Rando, a Smith College data scientist, and this study her team conducted on the accuracy of these tests, the American Kennel Club, our own Verify review of 3 direct-to-consumer dog DNA tests, and Elaine Ostrander, a geneticist at the National Institutes of Health who created the Dog Genome Project. The science of dog DNA testing started in Ostrander's lab 3 decades ago. Since then, genealogists have figured out how to decode and unravel the canine DNA sequence.
Dogs and humans both have about 17,000 genes in common, and we can move back and forth between the canine and the human genome and make use of that information.
Unleashing a process that's a lot like how human DNA tests can determine ancestry.
Being able to tell what breed your dog is can be done with very, very high fidelity.
So yes, you can determine a dog's breed through DNA tests. But for those of us not working in a genetics lab, not all tests you see advertised are created equal. Each company analyzes your dog's DNA differently.
When you submit a dog's DNA to a company, they're basically running an experiment, and they're collecting data and comparing it to data they've collected previously.
So we tried out 3 popular tests ranging in price from $70 to $100.
Gums and cheek.
On this purebred Dachshund Versace, the maybe lab wire-haired pointer mix Maka,
Get your teeth brushed.
and my own rescue mutt Bo.
Good boy.
We took samples from each dog for each test, and just for good measure, I also submitted my own swabs to see if they could detect the difference. Connie Delaney's American Kennel Club champion Dachshund has a lineage and a pedigree that goes back generations with the documentation and certification to prove it.
How surprised would you be if it came back with anything other than what you know it to be?
I would absolutely be amazed.
Sure enough, all 3 tests for Versace came back 100% Dachshund. Results for our rescue pups were more, well, mixed. Remember Maka? These were his owner's guesses, but both Embark and Wisdom Panel found he's mostly American Pit Bull Terrier and Australian Cattle Dog. Bo, who I always thought was some type of lab, is also mostly Pit Bull Terrier, according to both Embark and Wisdom Panel.
Good boy, Bo.
According to Ostrander, getting a percentage of Pit Bull in a rescue animal isn't surprising.
It does make sense because if you got your dog from some kind of a rescue, that is a breed or group of breeds that often end up in rescue situations.
But when we take a look at both of the Mutt's Viagard Accumetrics results, they were very different. Bo's test identified breeds that didn't show up in either of the other tests, while Maka's said he's 100% Labrador Retriever. Rando says Viagard Accumetrics was an outlier of all the tests her team looked at, just like it was with us. Both Embark and Wisdom Panel explain their methodologies on their website, including how many genetic markers they look at. Viagard doesn't. We asked them about their results, and they told Verify that the quality of samples can impact results, but that it had no further comment once those results are released. Embark and Wisdom Panel told Verify mixed breed results can differ because companies use different algorithms in reference databases. As for my swabs, neither Embark nor Wisdom Panel said it could process my sample, but Viagard Accumetrics said I have some French Bulldog in me. The American Kennel Club cautions pet owners about using any DNA test to make health-related decisions for your dog because the industry isn't regulated. One thing the AKC says you can look for when choosing a test to determine a breed is this lab certification. It's the highest federal standard for DNA testing, and all 3 companies say they have it. But it is just one piece of the puzzle because you should also consider how those companies analyze the results.
All right, you ready?
Back at Tony and Michael's.
Pit Bull, Cattle Dog, Super Mutt, Whippet, and German Shepherd. What? That's crazy.
While the results aren't what they expected.
Nothing like we actually thought it was. Okay, interesting, surprise.
Ultimately,
we still love him. He's still amazing and perfect. Hi, baby. You're a Whippet. Who knew you had Whippet in you?
A big thank you to Sharon, Carol, Catherine, Tony, Michael, everyone else who helped contribute to this episode with your questions. If you see something that you'd like us to verify, you can send us your questions by emailing verify@10tampabay.com, or you can text 727-577-8522. With your Verify on 10 Tampa Bay, I'm Josh Sidorowicz. Thanks for watching.